Today you're going to follow along with me as I design and iterate over my new landing page for my upcoming UI design course. Before we begin, this video's sponsor is Linode, and they make it easy and affordable to host your site, app, or service on whatever technology stack you use. Unlike entry-level hosting services, Linode is a step up to powerful, fast, fully configurable cloud computing. With server plans starting at just $5 plus no hidden fees or surprise outages, Linode offers a no-nonsense hosting at a price you can afford. So sign up now using the link below to get a $20 credit on your new Linode account. Hey everyone, what's up? Gary Simon of CourseCetro.com. So today I decided to include you along with my personal process of creating a very simple UI design or a layout for an email capture form for an upcoming UI design course that I plan to release sometime before the end of this year going into 2020. All right, so the whole purpose of something like this is to get people to enter the email so that I can notify them when the course actually launches. And so what I wanted to do is to show you my process of how I tackle that UI design layout and also how I create a bunch of iterations for the layout. And then ultimately this will give me a bunch of ideas that I wouldn't have otherwise chosen. So this is something that's very important that you do when you're designing your user interfaces, to experiment with the layout. All right, so make sure to subscribe if you haven't yet, and let's get started. All right, so here I am in Adobe Xd. You can also use Figma or whatever else you want. I'm not doing anything too advanced or complex. Everything should work from app to app. And so I have just basically a desktop canvas out here, a Web 1920 by 1080. That's what we're going to use just to start off with. And I already have the content, the actual type-based content right here. So the title, of course, which would be like an H1 element in HTML. It's a complete UI design course. That's probably a crappy ad copy right there. But we're just going to use that for now for placeholder text. And then just kind of like a paragraph here. And then some supporting text next to what will be like a text field for entering their email. All right, and then get notified when I release a course. So these are just the few bits of information that I have to work with in order to get started with the UI layout. All right, so as you'll find, as I mentioned before, the first layout that you come up with may not be the best, but the most important thing to do is to iterate through multiple of them and just to experiment so that something comes out. It's the same process really when you're working with logo design, for instance, and you're trying to come up with symbolism and such. You just let it all come out and structure it. So here we go. Enough talking. So for the background, for the initial one, I'm just going to go a dark background. That's kind of what I had for my gut. Usually, you never want to go absolute black with your 6 zeros. I usually like to come up a little bit. I think I'm going to use 191919, which is just up here. All right. So now what I want to do is I do have a logo already made for this. And so for the logo, I'm going to open up Adobe Illustrator. And what's great is in Adobe Illustrator, if you're using Adobe Experience Design, it's loading right now, and you have your design open in Adobe Illustrator, instead of having to import, go to like File, Import or something like this, you don't have to do that. All you have to do, and I'm loading up the document on my other monitor right now, all you have to do is just select, the layers or the group that composes of your illustration or your logo, and just hit copy, Control C. So for instance, this is the one I'm going to use. Control C to copy, and we're going to paste in momentarily. There it goes. All right. Oh, I forgot the little I here. There was I'll make this file available, by the way, as well. The dot and the I didn't include. Okay, so now it's there. All right, so here is our logo. Now, because this is such a simple page, just an email or a lead capture page, I'm not going to have a navigation. In fact, when it comes to these types of pages where you have a single goal that you want people to take, or it's a single call to action of sorts, you want to minimize the layout as much as possible, really. You don't want to give them a lot of exit points or external links from which they can just leave and not come back. You want them to take that one element. So we still do want to have some of our branding in here, so I'm going to choose to keep the logo, and I'm going to scale it down holding Shift and Alt, and just get it up here, right around there. and I'm happy with that. All right, so next up, we're going to, let's see here. I'm going to choose to put my picture, just to let people know who may be familiar with who I am, that this is a product or a course, upcoming course that is from me. All right, so let me get that real quick. I put that on the desktop somewhere. All right, and I found it. I'm just going to drag it from the desktop onto this shape right here, and there I am. There we go. I took a picture of myself laughing at a wall, by the way. That's how I got that picture. Can you imagine that? All right, so now let's continue on with the headline. Kind of one of the most important elements is the headline. And again, I'm going to be using this one over here, Complete UI Design Course. And because I want it centered, what I will do, instead of just left clicking once, I'm going to go from the very left click and drag out to the very right, center this, and paste in our Complete UI Design Course copy. And I will also increase the size. We're going to do Montserrat for this, of course, which is one of my favorite fonts. People know that already, though, about me, if you watch me at all. All right, and we're going to get that up here pretty big like that. I think we may even go to medium. All right. This may be a little bit much, but again, I'm not going to overthink it. At this stage, you don't want to overthink all of your design decisions. You want to get the content on there and then really start trying to refine it through iterations and all of that good stuff. So what we'll do, we're going to take this, we'll just duplicate this, Control D, drag it down. We're going to go smaller. Let's put like 23 for now. And then I'm going to copy that bit of text. If I can remember, I will just paste all this text in the description of YouTube, and you can follow along easily. I'm going to hold Alt and drag that in because we don't want it to go all the way out to the edges of the browser. That would be bad. All right, and so now let's go ahead and we'll just choose regular. Maybe bump this up a bit and extend this down. I'm going to hit enter right here and make this bold just to make this part of the ad copy stick out decently. So just do bold here. All right, so notice so far we have the logo, which sits by itself, and we have myself. We have an equal amount of white space so far between at the top and bottom of this avatar element. We have Complete UI Design Course, which is large. It's the headlines. The first thing that's really supposed to stick out, and so that people can immediately look to that first in terms of visual hierarchy. It's the first thing you want them to read, so that they understand what they're dealing with. Next up, we have some more type, and of course, I'm separating these two type elements based on scale. Primarily based on scale, as you can see, they're two very different sizes. I see a lot of people getting either getting too far away, like in tiny text, or going too close, and then in terms of size, and then it throws off the flow of the design. So it's all about finding a good medium, making sure that all the type is readable, but still your different areas are separated through scale, color and contrast, font weights, and such. All right, so let's continue on. After that, I'm going to put Complete UI is releasing before 2020 on Udemy and other networks. So we're just going to duplicate that. As you can see, this is a dead simple layout. It's pretty much I forgot to get the C in there, a mobile first sort of approach. And this time I'm choosing to separate these two elements through contrast by adjusting the opacity. Now you still don't want it to go too low, because then certain people with eye issues won't be able to see it, or if their device contrast is different than yours, they won't be able to see it either. So you want it to be different enough to where these are clearly separated visually in terms of contrast, but also so that you could still read it. And also, you don't have to necessarily make this gray. You could have separated them through color. You know, this could be like one of the colors up here in this purplish range. And this could work as well if that's something that you want people really to see and stand out. I think for this type of ad copy, when it's releasing and where it's releasing isn't as important as this information here. So that's why I'm making it just kind of more grayed out to where it's just a secondary piece of content. So now we'll design the actual, the most important element, which is the email capture form. So I'm going to choose to get rid of the fill and just go with the default gray border that Adobe Xd gives us, which is 707070. All right, and then we're going to have a button right next to it. So Control D, move it over holding Shift, and button probably be around this large. Get rid of the border, and we're going to give it a fill. And we really want this thing to stick out a lot. So if you know anything about call to actions, you'll know that the buttons that are associated with those call to actions should be something that really sticks out big time. So we're going to give it color. We're already working with some colors up here that the eye is already seeing. So to keep consistency, visual consistency, which is important in UI design, we'll grab one of these colors right around here. So now let's get this centered up, probably right around there. And I'm going to move this 1 pixel left just so it covers this area right here so we don't see that. It kind of gives us a bad little contrast, if you will. So now let's give it a placeholder text inside of here. So this is just going to be your email. Scale that down. We'll go back to, wow, it's thunderstorming outside. I'm not sure if you could hear that. Probably not. And again, usually placeholders are, you know, they're dimmed down. Probably you should use the same as that one. What is that? That's 39 and that's 45. Slightly off. All right. And then we will have over here, left click, drag from the right and left of the button, notify me. We'll bold that sucker up too. There we go. All right. So that looks pretty good at this point. Now it's a matter of trying to get this framed up correctly. So what I'm doing is looking at the bottom, like how much white space I want to be at the bottom. Then we could take everything else. Now, one thing I'm wondering is, we don't want it to have to be sitting too low on the page because it is a very important element. All right, so that looks pretty good right there. Very simple design, obviously, but it's just giving us one potential look. There we go. Centering that between these two elements looks a lot better. So, yeah, this is pretty good here. And so one idea I thought, you know, just because it is so bland and simple at this point, is perhaps, you know, because UI design is all about working with shapes to some extent, having some primitives like a square or a circle or a triangle, maybe floating in the background of sorts. So what we could just do is I'll take this and we'll create just a square holding Shift, and then we'll get rid of the fill, and then we will take that down. And I'm kind of nervous right now because my computer, I think it's the video graphics card, is making a huge, loud grinding noise. I'm going to kill somebody. All right, so there's maybe one shape. Maybe that's a little bit too big. We'll leave it there for now. And so these could be, with JavaScript, we could be moving these around, perhaps. So we'll do a circle real quick in the same sort of aesthetic. What is that? It's 11 for the size. All right, so we'll take 11. All right, and then, well, it's time for a new video card, I guess. I just bought this literally 3 or 4 months ago. All right, what is the color? There we go. I'm gonna have to pause this video because that's very, very loud. Maybe like right there. So just you can see these supporting elements right here kind of just add something extra to what's otherwise a very, kind of plain and boring design. Again, this is 11. And then we'll go ahead and get this the same color, and we'll scale it up. Oh my God, that is loud. I'm not sure if you guys are going to be able to hear that or not. Maybe we'll put this one like in the center. Also, move things around in our layers. Maybe tilt this a bit. There we go. I'm going to save this, complete UI toot. Save that. Time for me to pause. All right, I'm back. I literally like just hit my computer tower, and that made it stop. That is so ridiculous. Okay, so now let's continue on. So we'll say, this is the very first iteration that we have. We're happy with it. How can we use the same exact content in terms of the type-based elements and the logo and this avatar and the call to action, and create different layouts essentially? So this is just a single column layout where nothing's floating to the left or right of each other, with exception to these elements, which are really just a background element, so they don't count. So what we'll do is to do this, let's duplicate it. And one of the things you can do, if you also at the same time want to tackle whether or not you want to go for a light design versus a dark design, you could change up the background color and then just readjust the type-based elements and everything that needs to be inverted. So we'll take these things, make those black, and these of course have opacity, so that's why they maintain their alpha channels in a sense. These ones, because we want these to be background elements, of course, we're gonna change this to more on the lighter side. There we go. And then complete UI, I'm going to go in there and change that to black. And this is probably not enough contrast, so we'll boost those up. There we go. So there we go. Now we have a white and black version of our UI. Let's take it a step further though, and let's see about actually using columns, a two-column approach to the same content here. All right, so for that, let's go ahead and we'll take our complete UI design course copy right here. We're going to left align it, pull it down, and I think maybe I just want to have complete on its own line. So complete and then UI design course, and we'll give it some space, some margin, or padding from the edge here. We'll take this, put this down, left align it. Let's get this moved over here somewhere temporarily. And we're going to take this, or myself, and just move it over there. Let's right click on this and go to arrange and bring to front. There we go. Now we're going to have two columns here. So probably like the halfway point, somewhere around there would be pretty good. All right, and then using our existing content, complete UI is released, and maybe we could put this in the right one over here. We'll right align this copy right here. It is storming outside like crazy. All right, bring this down. So right now, in terms of placement, I'm looking at where, the amount of white space here is, and trying to make that, to be even or equal rather. Maybe align this with the baseline of that text over there. This right here, you need to bring that up a bit, especially if there's a background element behind it, which these are going to be moving anyway, so that's okay. I had a different idea for this, for my avatar right here. Maybe it'll be like a, what do you call, a arrow. I'll hit Alt, and by the way, to get rid of that angle. Did I say angle? Oh my God, ridiculous. Angle I meant. And then just draw an arrow like this. All right, so now maybe I can put something else here, something like, and by the way, we need to get this situated in terms of vertically aligning because everything's sitting up at the top too much if you're looking at the baseline here. But we'll do that in a second. So what I can do is maybe add an extra type-based element here. Actually, where was I? Yeah, get notified when I release the course. So get notified when I release the course. Somewhere right around there. I think these are sticking out a little bit too much. So I want to bring the opacity down. There we go. That's better. So now I'll take these elements. I don't want these. I don't want to move those. I just want the main content here. We're going to center it vertically. So I'm just kind of looking at everything from the top in the bottom. So this looks pretty good right there. So there we go. We have so far 3 iterations. One's just a color change, a light and dark mode, and then this one is a much more different approach in terms of the layout, where we have 2 columns here and then a single column that's centered in the bottom. All right, so we don't have to end there though. We could take this, duplicate it. There's still so much more that you can do with this. So what would this look like, for instance, as a dark mode? Well, same thing again. We use 191919. I should probably be adding these just so I don't have to do that. All right, and then again, all this stuff, make white. And this stuff right here, and then finally this element right here as well. This sort of gets lost, so we can probably make that on the lighter side. And there we go. So now we have a black version of this. We could probably put this over here. Actually, it would make sense at this point to put this one underneath, and then we'll just take these 2, hold shift, and then just move them over. All right, there we go. So now we could still experiment and work with this a little bit more. Mainly this one over here. We can see it's a very open aired. I kind of like it. We can confine maybe one of these elements or one of these what do you call, columns into its own different colored section. So what we'll do is I think we'll go ahead and take our rectangle tool here, and we're going to make it our primary color like that. So then we'll go to our layers, we'll make this thing, put this weight in the bottom, and then we have some work to do, of course. So we'll take our logo, we can left align it, that works completely fine. For this, being that I have a lot of other elements already in here, or this main big element, I'm just going to delete these. We'll say we'll omit these, at least for this example, this iteration. We want maximum contrast here. Black would not be it. White would work much better. So we'll just take white. There's no contrast practically on that border, so we'll make that white. And then, of course, our button gets lost. We want maximum contrast there so people see it, and we'll make that white, but our text, our primary color. All right. This kind of doesn't work anymore, so we can change that up as well. So maybe we'll take these 3 elements, put them here. We'll take this, make it white, maybe bold it up a little bit. Now, there's contrast issues here with this side of the avatar in the background. So to combat that, we can give it a stroke or a border on the outside, make it white. So that'll work. And then, of course, we can make this white as well. Maybe bold this up. All right, and then we could take all this content here, kind of move it more up here, center it just a little bit more. Actually, we could take this. I think it would be better to take this. As you can see, I'm doing a lot of this. You know, I'm not being too scientific about it. I'm just kind of seeing what works, moving things over. There we go. See, if you put it like this, it seems like it's too run-on, like a lot of text in one area. We have the space, so we can separate things out a little bit more. All right, and Jesus, Gary, what are you doing? Select everything. There we go. And then I can think about where exactly I want to put this. Maybe just center it, this element there, and that'll work. All right. Oh, and one thing that's throwing me off here, there is an alignment issue here. If you look at this column right here, you can see that there's not a lot of white space here, and there's a massive amount over here. So again, I don't want to get too caught up in those specifics when you're kind of at this rough, stage where you're working with things. And then when you adjust the white space over here, this needs to be adjusted as well. So, we can just take everything like this, kind of move things over, get this moved over as well. I'm not too happy with this bottom part. I think that looks kind of silly, so we'll probably adjust that as well. So yeah, going good so far, probably a good point to save. Let's go ahead and I think I'm going to experiment. Another thing that would be worth experimenting with would be flipping these. So what if we put this over here? All right, so let's make these white. And then, of course, we have to go back. I'm not going to readjust this because it's a little bit of a pain. We'll find this one. Make sure you select all the layers that are composed of that. We will duplicate them, bring them over here. All right. And then this doesn't need the stroke. This, go black. Make that one. Make this black as well. All right. This suddenly doesn't work. So we could either take the time to adjust this gradient, which was created in Illustrator. I don't think we can update it here. Or just move it over here, just to be quick about it. And that works as well, in my opinion. Okay. One thing that makes more sense, though, perhaps to restructure this area, we could put this kind of like as a label. So get notified when I release this course. Have my little arrow directing people towards that button, I guess. We can move things down now, right around there. And I think that works pretty well at that point. All right, awesome stuff. So, this is the process. As you can see, I'm doing a lot of thinking out loud here. Not spending too much time on any one particular thing. And ideas start to form when you start to, replicate these artboards and start moving things around and changing them up. For instance, like this one final one, maybe I'll do real quickly. It's like, nothing's really standing out too much here. I want more attention placed on complete UI design. So with CSS, we could change a text properties or text elements background. So we can perhaps do something like this to make it look like it's highlighted in some way. So I could take this and make it, maybe we could try black. You could try different colors and all that on your own. Let's just move this near the bottom. Except this should be at the absolute bottom. There we go. We'll take the type. We're going to make it white. Before I do that, though, I think we'll just duplicate this. Push, hold Shift and get it down there. Pull it out. All right, so now we take our type and make it white. All right, so it kind of gives it sort of like a highlight effect, as if somebody is on the page and they selected the text or whatever. Technically, it's not black. I think, what does highlighted text even look like? I forget completely. Isn't it like a bluish color or something? Yeah, something like that. So, yeah. And then this is a completely different look almost than this. So you can really make fine iterations, not iterations to the entire layout as I did in some of these. And then ultimately, you may be wondering to yourself, how then do you know which one you should use? And that's a tricky one because it requires work. So you can do focus testing, which is just a process of gathering people's opinions. Or you could do split testing. And there's a bunch of different split testing tools that you can utilize. But what that basically means is when you start, you get it up into HTML and CSS, you start with 2 or perhaps 3 different variations. And your split testing script will serve randomly one of those iterations. It'll do them like an equal amount. So if like visitor 1 will get variation A, which could be this one. Visitor 2 could get variation B, which could be this one, and then visitor 3, so on and so forth, could get a different variation. And then you define a goal. The goal, of course, would be to get people to click notify me in your email. And you will find that the one that you thought would be the best, because your design has a goal, and that's to get people to fill out this email. That's it. It's not to look the best. It's to perform the best. You'll find that the one that you thought, maybe perform the worst, and it'll let you know based on the metric of the goal which is most successful. All right, so I think that's it. You can come up with so many more designs here, but I think you got the idea at this point. All right, so hopefully you found that useful. If you did, make sure to subscribe. I will be covering the HTML and CSS process of at least one of these, so the front-end development process, and also, how do you go about even capturing the email? There's a lot of different ways. There's a lot of different service providers. You could just save it in your own database. There's a lot of different things. I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet, but once I get to that process very shortly, I will probably cover that as well. All right, I will see you guys soon. Goodbye.